All right, we're going to look at some coastal features and processes along the north shore of Lake Superior, and we're going to start near Duluth and Superior, Wisconsin, where we see a really nice Malph Bar. This Malph Bar is going across this inlet here. This is where the St. Louis River comes down. You can see that it looks like the level of the lake has risen up and flooded in along that river valley, forming what, if it was along the coast, the ocean coast, would be called a estuary. Let's look a little closer here. We've got a river flowing in here, depositing some delta deposits right there. And then coastal processes kind of take over here, and you have longshore transport, moving sand along the coastline here, and it has formed this long spit, which eventually cut off the entire river and formed a Malph Bar. And there are a couple of interesting features here. You can see a hooked spit right here where waves wrapping around inside of here have moved sand along this little stretch of coastline there. You can tell that sand has been moving from right to left across this image because these places where these jetties are located, more sand is built up on this side and it has eroded off of this side. And so sand must be moving in this direction. And as you go further along, we have a very nice beach. And if we look here, we can zoom in on a pretty typical beach profile right across this area. And if we, let's see, nope. Show the elevation profile there. You can see a pretty nice view here. You've got the lake level here, kind of a steep beach face here, and a berm that has formed on the back of the beach here. This material has been pushed up by storm waves. When a big storm hits, it's going to move a lot of sediment up onto the upper part of the beach. So that's a good example of a typical beach profile. It's a little different than the ones that you might see along the ocean because there's no tides here. We've got a couple more jetties here that are protecting this inlet. Now let's head up to a little bit further along the coast, and here we see a feature that has been created to stop the flow or try to slow the movement of sand down the coast, and this is called a groin. In this case, it looks like it's made of cement and it's built out perpendicular to the coastline, and you can see that in this location the sand has been moving from right to left. That's more or less southward along the coast and has built up on this side of the groin. On the downstream side, you can see that there's been erosion there. So this is the way it works with groins. They typically build up a beach on one side, but since sand is moving out of this area and very little sand's moving into that area, it tends to have erosion. Let's go a little further down the coast here, and we'll look at a place where the river is coming in, and you can see sediment moving in to the river here, to the lake, and then moving down the coast. So this is a source of sediment. That's one of the sources of sediment that beaches have, is rivers. The other source is the erosion of the back beach or the cliffs along the coast. Let's head further up the coast, and here we are seeing a small spit that has been building across this inlet here. This is another river coming in, and you can see that this spit has kind of built outward, and so wave energy is moving sand down the coast, and it has built this, even a little hook on the end of this, not very big, but waves tend to refract around there and will carry the sediment around and form a little hook. Now, let's continue further north and we'll see what is a very nice Seastack here. So this is an area where there was a steep cliff here and a headland. And what you have is wave energy then is going to wrap around the headland and attack this from two sides and eventually forming a sea cave, then a sea arch, and eventually a Seastack. And that's what we have right here is we have this Seastack that is kind of hanging off the coast there. Let's go a little farther up and we'll see a really nice little wave cut cliff. So right here you can see again really nice erosion on the headlands. Let's see, and it's not looking real 3D, but let's see. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And let's zoom in on that. And somebody's built a little gazebo on here. But this is a cliff that has been cut by the wave so that as the wave energy hits here, it undercuts the edge of the cliff and then chunks of rock are going to tumble into the lake. And let's go further on down and look at another Malph Bar. So here we go, right down here. And this one has actually completely cut off or sealed over where this little creek is running into the lake. So the wave action has deposited sediment across this area here. And let's go further down and try to find another feature. And if we zoom in here, this is a place that's a Tumble. And what it is you've got this little island off the coast. And what's happened is that sand is able to move into the area behind, pushed by waves. But since this is kind of sheltering the area behind it, more sand moves in than moves out. And so it tends to build out and forms this little strip of land heading out towards this island here. This is at Split Rock Lighthouse. And eventually this Tumble might reach all the way to this island and it would become what's called a tide island. And let's see, of course, here's another wave cut cliff, which is where the lighthouse is located. And you can see big boulders, chunks of rock that have eroded off of there. And let's go further along the coast here. And here we see a famous example of a Seastack. And this is at Tetegooch State Park. And here's the thing, is this is a little headlands that's jutting out, and wave energy again would wrap around this. So the waves attack this area from both sides. And it eventually ate all the way through and formed a sea arch. And in 2010, that arch collapsed, leaving behind just a Seastack sticking up out of the lake here. And in 2019, that Seastack also fell due to a large winter storm. And so that is no more. That is no more there. But there's still other sea arches along, or at least one that I know of, and this one is called Hollow Rock, and it's right off the coast here. This is near a little campground or resort called, I think it's Hollow Rock Resort, and this is the little rock right off the edge there, and this also shows an arch where it has been eaten all the way through, or eroded all the way through. And those are some of the features along the North Shore.